that this particular professor or this dean in this university will defend the curriculum? What effort would they put into defending this false narrative? And you know the answer. That is how they generate the money. That is how they guarantee the money. The money is guaranteed by the illusion that is created, which you, all four of you buy into. The greatest threat that ever came to the British Museum and this fraud was a man called David Wayne Miller, when he broke the language itself and showed that the language is so toxified, it is so primed for you to pick up new words, what they call novel words, like evolution. These are not discoveries, they're novelty ideas. If you folks do not wish to pursue this any further because you find yourself dumbfounded, I would ask you to pursue this one word then with me. Do you know what the word museum means?
No,
It means
can you?
amusement.
That's exactly what it means. It's a place of amusement. It is an amusement park masquerading as a piece of archaeology, a piece of science. They have told you in your face that in their definitions what a museum is, but the professors ignore it because it is easier to go with the status quo. We all know the story of Hans Andersen, The King Has No Clothes. Everybody wishes to participate in the fraud, in the illusion, in the false narrative.
Because that's where they find their security.
Their security is in the mathematics, the psychological profiling that they have done on the general public to know how much securities that they can gain by fixing false narratives into the empty minds of people. That's where they get their money from. That is what the private banks, the private individuals, the public banks, the public people invest in. How plausible is this corruption and how long will it last? In other words, what is the lifespan of this false ideology called evolution, or called geology, or called fossil fuel, that was also generated by museums to let you think, to get you believe that oil comes from fossils. Any geologist worth his weight would simply laugh at the ideas, just like the Russian geologists simply laugh because they know these wells fill up again. It is a natural occurring mineral, like water that fills up in your well. It's a naturally occurring substance. How much money did they make by creating the false narrative called fossil fuel? That it's limited because if you run out of the fossils that made the oil and it's a limited resource, they can pump up the price, letting you know it's limited, it's limited, it's limited. How much can they make from that? How much money can they make by creating that false narrative? And that would be the cost of the fuel, of the petrol, of the diesel that you put in your car. That's how they generate the money. That's how the money is printed, because the surety is that's how many people will believe that nonsense. And therefore, everybody else has to follow that system. That's the true mechanism of banking. It is banking on how successful a lie will be.
With the oil and going back to the fossil fuels, that again makes the logic start to tick in my head, thinking about the banking and that again, because they say money is backed by physical assets and like oil. And then if it's oil is a finite resource, then they can shoot the value of it up and generate more currency in that, I guess. Is that true?
So yes, that is one of the mechanisms. You see, as the book, The Law of Human Stupidity, describes, The perfect thief will steal from you with 100% loss to you and 100% gain to the thief without you even knowing. They inherited the entire world by the people not knowing that they lost the world.
Like a mortgage.
Like a mortgage, like sending your children to school, like believing in evolution, like believing in fossil fuel. A 5-year-old with minimum amount of education has the capacity to dismiss that as nonsensical, just like with global warming or global cooling. And then the bankers will give you, since you cannot agree upon whether it's cooling or warming. And do you remember the warring factions? The global coolers would attack the global warmers, and the global warmers would attack the global coolers. Do you remember that? They went to war. They attacked themselves in the streets. So they came up with climate control. Since you cannot agree or settle or use logic, then we will control your climate, your temperature, your rainfall, which they now call geological engineering. How much money can you make from setting two tribes against each other by creating an ideology that goes directly against each other? Global cooling, global warming. We all heard of the bread and butter wars. What is the bread and butter wars? It's one tribe going to war with another tribe because that tribe buttered its bread on the other side, on the wrong side of the slice of bread. So they went to war. And that is a measure for the bankers to find how stupid people really are. And they measure it. And they say, how much money can we make? How much